Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going deep, very deep, into a topic that looks simple on the surface, but becomes extremely complex when you start thinking about it seriously. We are talking about money. Not just money, but why money has different values across the world. Why is $1 not equal to €1? And why is it completely different when you compare it to other currencies like the Vietnamese dong or even currencies in Africa? This question may sound basic, but once you understand it, you start seeing the entire global economy in a completely different way.
Yes, Lucas, and I think this is one of those topics where many people feel confused but don't take the time to explore it. Because when you travel, you feel it immediately. You exchange your money, and suddenly the numbers change. Sometimes you feel richer, sometimes poorer, but in reality, nothing has changed about your real wealth. What changed is the value of the currency you are using. And that creates a psychological illusion that many people don't understand.
Exactly. Let's imagine a simple story to help everyone visualize this. Imagine a man, we'll call him Bob again. Bob lives in the United States and he earns his salary in dollars. For him, everything is normal. He buys food, pays rent, uses his money every day without questioning its value. But the moment he leaves his country, everything changes. When he goes to Europe, suddenly his money is worth less compared to the euro. Then, if he travels to Asia, he might see huge numbers when he exchanges his money, but that doesn't mean he is rich.
That's such an important point, because people often confuse numbers with value. Seeing a big number in another currency doesn't mean you have more purchasing power. It's just a different scale. And that brings us to the fundamental question: what really gives money its value?
Yes, and to answer that, we need to go back in time, because money was not always like today. Today, money is mostly digital or paper-based, but in the past, money had a direct connection to something physical and valuable, like gold.
Exactly. This system was known as the gold standard. Under this system, every unit of currency represented a specific amount of gold. That means if you had money, you could theoretically exchange it for gold. This created a strong sense of stability because gold itself had intrinsic value.
And more importantly, it limited governments. They couldn't just print money freely. If they wanted to increase the money supply, they needed more gold reserves. So the system forced discipline.
But as economies grew and trade expanded globally, this system became too restrictive. Countries needed more flexibility to manage crises, wars, and economic growth. And that's when the transition started.
Yes, and by the 1970s, most countries had abandoned the gold standard and moved to what we now call fiat money. This is the system we live in today.
Fiat money is very different. It has no intrinsic value. It is not backed by gold or any physical asset. Its value comes from trust. People accept it because they believe others will accept it too.
That's actually a very powerful idea. Money is not valuable because of what it is. It is valuable because of what people believe about it.
And this belief is directly connected to supply and demand. If a lot of people want a currency, its value increases. If people lose confidence, the value decreases.
This is why strong economies tend to have strong currencies. Because investors, businesses, and even governments around the world want to hold that currency.
And on the opposite side, if a country is unstable, has high inflation, or economic problems, people will avoid its currency.
Which brings us to one of the most important factors affecting currency value: inflation.
Inflation is something everyone experiences, even if they don't understand the term. It simply means that over time, money loses its purchasing power.
Let's explain it in a simple way. Imagine today you can buy 2 meals with $10. But after some time, due to inflation, those same $10 can only buy 1 meal. That means your money has lost value.
And when inflation becomes very high, people lose confidence in the currency. They try to get rid of it as quickly as possible.
Exactly, because holding that currency means losing value every day.
A dramatic example is Zimbabwe. At one point, inflation was so extreme that prices were changing constantly. People needed bags of money just to buy basic goods.
Now let's move to another major factor: interest rates.
This shows something very important. Money only works if people trust it.
When a country offers high interest rates, investors from around the world are attracted because they can earn better returns.
Interest rates are the cost of borrowing money, but they also influence global investment flows.
And when demand increases, the currency becomes stronger.
But to invest, they need that country's currency. So they exchange their money, increasing demand for that currency.
However, there is always a trade-off. High interest rates can slow down the economy because borrowing becomes expensive.
However, there is always a trade-off. High interest rates can slow down the economy because borrowing becomes expensive.
So central banks must find a balance. They cannot just raise interest rates endlessly.
So central banks must be very careful. They adjust interest rates depending on the situation.
Now let's talk about another key factor, the situation of a country.
Investors want predictability. They want to know that the rules will not change suddenly.
Yes, political stability and economic stability are critical.
If a country becomes unstable, investors withdraw their money and the currency loses value.
If a country becomes unstable, investors withdraw their money and the currency loses value.
But if a country is stable, attracts business, and grows economically, its currency becomes stronger.
But if a country is stable, attracts business, and grows economically, its currency becomes stronger.
And that's why understanding currencies is not just about money, it's about understanding the world.